Good Sunday evening, folks. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandajis here with you in the 13 News Now Weather Center. I'm also joined by meteorologist Hunter Forst, and of course we are tracking ongoing potential to see some severe weather right now across our entire area. All the showers and downpours are all non-severe in nature, but there's certainly some thunder and lightning out there. And all day today, we've had some very gusty winds, in fact, surpassing 45 miles per hour recently out at the airport. Here's a look at live radar, and I want to back it up and go back past the last 2 hours and just show you the general trajectory of this cluster of storms that is actually working to stabilize our environment. It's rain cooling our air, bringing down the temperatures, but it's also bringing up dew points. So once this cluster pushes on out of here, our threat will then turn to the potential of seeing some strong to severe storms along the actual cold front that doesn't get here until the middle of the night. So we've been talking about for the last couple of days that there be an overnight or nocturnal severe threat. That still looks to be a possibility here. I would say that the threat probably a little lower than it was looking earlier today, thanks to how long it's taking this front to get here. But the potential's still there. The atmospheric environment here is still conducive marginally to seeing some strong to severe storms. But right now, just non-severe thunderstorms across our entire area. I do want to show you just how cool the air has gotten. We started off in the mid-70s earlier, but since those downpours have come on through, we've seen temperatures drop in some locations down about 10 degrees in some spots. But what it's also done is it's introduced more moisture to the environment. That's also aided by the strong southerly winds that's advecting the moisture into our area or transporting it on in. So we've got dew points now that are certainly suitable for some of these storms to take advantage of, use as energy as fuel to develop into the strong or even severe side of things there. But as for right now, just seeing some extremely heavy rain. A little bit of some lightning evident on radar here in Chesapeake over near Deep Creek. So there is a convective component to these showers and thunderstorms here coming on through, most of which, again, are not severe, all of which are not severe at this moment. But one thing I do want to bring to your attention that developed over the last 30 minutes or so, Storm Prediction Center puts out something called Mesoscale discussions. And what this is basically an analysis of what they're thinking in terms of the overall atmospheric setup and what may be leading to a potential severe threat. They issued this mesoscale discussion here around 6:30-ish. And you see the area that's coded in red. It's a large polygon, and it shows our western cities and counties with the potential here of seeing a watch issued within the next couple of hours, a 60% odds of a watch, either a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch, either of which is pretty much up for a possibility here, thanks to the strong wind energy that we have in place. And there's also a twist in the atmosphere with the inbound cold front. So either of which we could see issued here in the next couple of hours or so, especially after this cluster of heavier downpours rolls on through here. I do want to toss things over to my colleague meteorologist Hunter Forst for his analysis on things. Hunter, just rain out there so far and very, very windy.
Yeah, it's very windy. Like you were saying, we were seeing gusts, 30, 40, 45 miles per hour this afternoon. It's just been a really breezy day, even without some of these thunderstorms. But as we said, we have the potential to see more severe storms, or see a few severe storms as we head later into the overnight hours. And those themselves could pack a punch. We could see gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour within those storms. So as we go throughout the next couple of hours, we're going to continue to see on and off heavy rain, and we're going to continue to see rain filtering into the area as we get later into the overnight hours, especially by 10, 11 o'clock tonight. And these storms here have the potential to be severe, but we also have the potential to see isolated flooding as well. We do have a flood watch in effect for the area of the south side and the peninsula as well, because you're having these heavier downpours just kind of going over the same areas over and over again. And when you have that, that's where you can get those higher rain totals and the chance to see some isolated flooding, especially if you're in a low-lying area or areas where there's poor drainage. That's where you could really see some of that water accumulating on the roadways, especially if the soil's, kind of already damp. And we've been seeing a good amount of rain already this evening. But again, here we are at midnight seeing some heavier downpours around Norfolk, Elizabeth City into Hertford, even by Roanoke Rapids. And it's going to continue to filter in heading into the early morning, and then by 3, 4 o'clock, still seeing that, especially around Virginia Beach, Elizabeth City into Hertford. Now, this is just one model's depiction of where this heavier rain could be. Could this shift, a little bit more towards the north and get in on Norfolk, Suffolk, and Murfreesboro, and then they pick up on the heavier rain totals and maybe, that severe storm or two? Certainly, that's definitely a chance. But again, this is just kind of what the model is suggesting right now. As of when we were taking a look at this yesterday or earlier this afternoon, some of the heavier training was more towards the north and the west, but now the recent models have kind of shifted it a little bit further south, which has given those rain totals a little bit higher for, eastern North Carolina around Virginia Beach. But again, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt where it could shift again a little bit more towards the north. But what we do know is that a lot of us will be getting in on heavy rain overnight tonight. All of us have the chance to see a severe storm, maybe an isolated tornado warning. So it's just one of those nights where you want to be able to get alerts to your phone if you're a heavy sleeper, because there is that chance. We have that 60% chance of a watch being issued, whether that's a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch. So again, the atmosphere is still ripe, still conducive for severe storms, for an isolated tornado or two. By the time we get to about 6, 7 o'clock, we're still seeing some good downpours here, but you're seeing most of the heaviest rain offshore. So from Accomack down into Cape Charles, Norfolk, Elizabeth City, still seeing some rain, looking better around 95, but still seeing temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. It's not going to be those mid 60s like we saw this morning, which felt fantastic. By the time we get to about 9, 10 o'clock, should start to see most of the rain pushing out of the area. Things are looking much better. Temperatures are cooler. They're going to be cooler heading into the day tomorrow. Low 60s in eastern North Carolina, mid to upper 50s in areas around the south side into the peninsulas, around Cape Charles, Accomack, upper 40s to low 50s. So if you have any plans for your St. Paddy's Day tomorrow afternoon, things should be looking a bit better. But there is a chance we could see a few isolated showers again as we go throughout the afternoon tomorrow, but again, isolated. So things will be looking good. And then you'll notice we'll start to clear out as we head into our Monday night. Again, we do have a flood watch in effect for areas of the south side. So Chesapeake over to Franklin, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, up into the peninsula, Hampton, Williamsburg. You guys have a flood watch in effect for where you can see rain totals up to about 4 inches. So again, if you know of these areas that are low-lying, that have poor drainage, that's where you could see some of that flooding. Here's a look at the Futurecast rainfall through tomorrow morning. And when I was showing you the Futurecast earlier, when you were seeing that heavier rain around this area, that's where they're picking up on the higher total. So 2 to 4 inches possible, maybe locally higher amounts. And could those higher rain totals, shift up a little bit? They could. Again, it depends on where that heaviest rain ends up going over. But for right now, that's kind of the thinking. Chesapeake, Edenton, Kill Devil Hills, Virginia Beach, Elizabeth City, 2 to 4 inches. Could see a little bit less the further north you go, 1 to 2 in Newport News, 1 to 2 in Franklin. So that's the graph model. As we take a look at the GFS model, kind of similar to the other models. So that just kind of shows you the confidence. There's higher confidence, better agreement that this area could see those higher amounts. Again, 2 to 4 inches from Virginia Beach, Elizabeth City down into Edenton, 1 to 2 in areas around Newport News, Franklin, and Ahoskie. So again, here are the severe threats, though, over the next couple of hours. Damaging winds, again, a chance to see an isolated tornado or two, but also that street flooding is a concern as well. I'm going to toss things on over back to Tim.
Hey, Hunter, yeah, we've got the rain. You can hear it coming down our studios here. Some pockets of heavier downpour, some lightning and thunder out there as well, but just heads up. Nothing here is of severe in nature, but we still do have embedded gusty winds, although coming in under severe criteria, which is less than 55 miles per hour. I do want to ask Miller, our director, to pull up our Skyview camera right atop our studios here to show you what it looks like outside. Reduced visibilities right now and moderate to heavy rainfall. Very dark cloud cover there. We're just minutes away from the sun setting. And also noting that is that with the sun setting, we're going to be losing the daytime heating aspect of this. So that would tend to drive a larger severe threat if that cold front that's still well to the west was to get here now. It's not. It's lagging far behind. These showers that are out there now, let's go back over to radar and show you these showers now are just precursor showers. And what they're actually working to do is work over the atmosphere a little bit, use up some of that available energy, and rain cool the air, bringing the stability level a little bit higher up and instability low. So that's the good news there right now. However, what I'm watching here is we go back a couple hours and show you the overall loop of the region. So we've got our cluster of downpours here that are moving through the area now, but we got to look farther to the south and west, because once we get these showers out of here, we're going to have to watch what's going on with this cluster of storms that you see here in the last couple. I'll stop it right now, actually. These just to the west, or to the east, excuse me, of Charlotte. Now, these are going to be moving into an environment that's had the ability to recover a little bit. So there's going to be energy available for these to sustain themselves. And guess what? They are heading in our general direction. So that's going to provide the overnight risk for some strong to severe storms here. And we are awaiting the Storm Prediction Center to either pull the trigger on a watch being issued for our area. They did issue a mesoscale discussion that I shared with you just a couple minutes ago. I'll bring it up again. This is what we call an MD, an mesoscale discussion that is overall an atmospheric discussion of what the Storm Prediction Center thinks may occur here in the short term, and they've issued a 60% odds, 60% probability that a watch will be needed because atmospheric conditions will be conducive to the possibility of those strong to severe storms out there. Hunter was mentioning the gusty winds today, and check out, these are observed gusts since midnight, and we did have a gust of 46 miles per hour out at Norfolk, 40 miles per hour out at Virginia Beach. Now, more recently, seeing gusts still up 30, 35, close to 40 miles per hour down to Elizabeth City. So it is still very blustery out there. These are gusty downpours all across our area right now. And you see live radar here at 712. Showing the heaviest of the rain now. We've got some claps of thunder and lightning over Portsmouth, portions of Norfolk as you get over towards Ocean View, north side Virginia Beach, really north and south of 264 there, up towards Great Neck, down London Bridge. You're getting on over towards Oceana. Very heavy rainfall for you there right now. Maybe even some embedded thunder and lightning stretching down to Pungo. Down into stretching past the state line into northeast North Carolina, Knott's Island just to your west, some heavier rain for you. And off to the northwest, really Williamsburg has been getting some heavier rain here. But even down the peninsula, as you're headed towards Newport News, Hampton, Pocosin, and over near Yorktown, some very heavy rainfall there. And there is some embedded lightning and thunder, all of which are not currently severe. These are all non-severe gusty downpours, very heavy rainfall there that's been putting out some numbers. Let's look at some of the recent rainfall observations here of some of these areas. So far today, you see the heaviest rain has been to the west and northwest, where we've picked up an inch of rain already out at West Point, over a half inch out at Wakefield, and look at Roanoke Rapids, over an inch, Emporia, 2 1/3. So very heavy rainfall here. There's a lot of moisture available in the atmosphere, so these downpours that do come on through are going to drop a lot of rain. On top of that, the thinking here is that this front, let me point out to you where exactly our cold front is, because what's out ahead of this right now, these precursor showers, it doesn't have that forcing of a cold front to really lift the atmosphere and bring about that severe threat. So these are low top thunderstorms that are working to stabilize the air. Back to the west, though, where you see along the Blue Ridge Mountains, I'll even highlight it here so we can see it a little bit better of where this is lining up. Pretty much right around through here is where our cold front is. You can see the line of storms developing along it, and this has just been kind of getting dragged along the Blue Ridge. This is a 12-hour loop, okay, and it hasn't really made much movement to the east. Okay, so the thinking here is that this line, after it pushes east of the mountains, will actually begin to slow down further, which presents that risk that Hunter was talking about for the heavy rainfall and the flooding potential. So Weather Service has put up a flood watch for all of South Side and through the peninsula through tonight and into tomorrow for those training thunderstorms, what we call them, heavy downpours that just develop and move over the same area for a prolonged period of time, prompting that flooding threat. Bigger picture now, we'll go back over to radar here and just give you kind of a synopsis of what we're dealing with, just non-severe thunderstorms. There's plenty of lightning and thunder here as we approach and surpass sunset. But once this pushes on out of here, we're going to really focus on this line. You can see there's already a warning out there out near Rockingham and south of Greensboro, just to the east of Charlotte, that these now are a little bit more stacked. These are a little bit stronger. They're taking advantage of the atmospheric conditions left behind by these clusters of storms that pushed on through ahead of them. They've had some time to recover. The atmosphere has had time to recoup some of that energy, kind of gobbling up any energy it could before the sun sets. So we have that energy there. We'll have to watch that as it pushes towards Raleigh. So this is still to the southwest of Raleigh, but building in that general direction. You can kind of see it here. They're developing there out near Rockingham, Lancaster, into South Carolina, and then lifting towards Raleigh. And eventually, we are downstream of that. So we'll see that pushing into our area later on tonight and through the overnight, which is why I want you to make sure you have multiple ways of receiving severe weather alerts. Of course, EAS alerts go out on your cell phone through your cell phone provider, and those will go off with quite an alarm and really wake you up in the middle of the night. Make sure you have your ringer on just in case we do get some tornadic threats that develop overnight tonight as our cold front rolls on through here in the next couple of hours. Overall, Storm Prediction Center, you saw the mesoscale discussion. We are still under the outlook of that level 2 out of the 5-tiered threat system. So we've watched this system as it's progressed from the middle parts of the country on Thursday and Friday. Yesterday it was in the Deep South, and now it's hitting the East Coast. There was a level 5 out of 5 for the Deep South yesterday, and there was numerous tornadoes that were reported to be on the ground. Lots of damage, and of course, injuries and deaths, too. That whole system is pushing towards the east. As a result, it's weakened some, but there's still the potential there for that strong to severe aspect of it as the front rolls on through here. So Storm Prediction Center has kept us at that level 2 threat out of a 5-tiered system. Now, you may say, oh, it's only 2 out of 5. I've seen tornadoes outbreak when there's a level 1. Okay, it can happen when there's any level of a severe threat. If the atmospheric conditions are right and you have the right cell in the right place at the right time, it can take ultimate advantage of it and develop to its full potential. So we'll have to watch this very, very carefully. But for the time being, before I send it over to Hunter, here's a look at radar. We're looking at a lot of heavy rain, thunder, and lightning out there. But for now, not looking at anything that's in severe criteria, Hunter. But later on tonight, that may change.
Yeah, there's definitely that chance as that line of storms moves through from that cold front. But what I also want to talk about is, again, that potential for some flooding. What I did notice is that earlier today, we were in that possible flooding. We were in this light green here, but we've been upgraded to that likely risk to see some flooding. And one thing I want to point out is that the flood watch for our area is only in effect for areas of the south side into the peninsula, and that's it. But you'll notice even up into the eastern shore, eastern North Carolina, just because you're not in that flood watch doesn't mean you don't have the chance to see any of that potential flooding. So if you're in any of this green, you have the chance. But if you're in the darker green, you have that higher chance, the likely chance to see some potential flooding. Again, if you're heading off to work tomorrow morning, it's dark. The sun doesn't rise now until past 7 o'clock. I kind of forget because I wake up in the morning and I'm like, is it 3 o'clock in the morning? I forget. And, you get off, you're heading off to work, and you could run into some flooding on the roads and you can't see. So you don't want to risk it. If the roads are, covered in water, you don't know how deep that water is. If you're on the highway, hydroplaning is always a concern as well. You hydroplane once, you never forget it. It's always, a scary situation. Especially if you're going fast on the highway. You lose traction just like that from the roadways, and you're just kind of going all over the place. You're white-knuckling it on the steering wheel, and you don't want to get caught up in that situation. But especially if you have an early commute tomorrow morning, that could be the situation. So that's just something you want to keep in mind. So again, here's a look at what we could see in terms of rainfall totals. 2 to 4 inches, Virginia Beach, Elizabeth City, Eatonton, Chesapeake. Could this shift a little bit? Of course it could, but it's looking like the heaviest rainfall for now, even though earlier, like Tim was saying, we've seen most of the rain further up towards the north, around West Point, Wakefield, Emporia, already seeing over 2 inches of rain. But this is just, what we could see as we head later into the morning. Graph model kind of set, or the GFS model, having similar agreements. But again, remember, everywhere in this area had that potential to see flooding, even though that flood watch is only in effect for the south side and the peninsula. So you want to keep that in mind. But here's a look at the tornado outlook. Like we were saying earlier, we have that mesoscale discussion. There was a 60% chance we could see, a severe thunderstorm or a severe thunderstorm watch issued or a tornado watch issued. And this is a look at, the potential to see, maybe an isolated tornado. Here in the green, it's a 2% chance, a 5% chance here in, this brownish, light maroon color, something like that. But you have the chance to see, a tornado within 25 miles at any given point. A low chance, 2 to 5%, 2% in the green. But again, always that chance is there, especially when you have those storms rolling through later tonight. Hail outlook, fairly low for the area, a little bit higher further out towards the west. Tim.
Yeah, Hunter, and you show that tornado outlook there. That falls in line with the mesoscale discussion here. I do want to share that with you and kind of read the text that was put out with that bulletin from the Storm Prediction Center. So their summary here is saying that there's going to be a gradual increase in storms expected this evening, and at least a few may become severe. Conditions remain favorable for a brief tornado or damaging wind gusts. So we've already got the wind energy out there. Out ahead of this line of showers and storms, we've had gusts over 45 miles per hour. And this reflects kind of exactly what we saw a week and 10 days ago was in the middle of the week when we had a similar setup. Front to our west, a tightening pressure gradient bringing the strong southerly winds. The wind energy was present, and as the line pushed into that wind energy, the cells started to spin, and we had severe thunderstorm warnings. The difference this time around is the timing. The front is lagging significantly farther to the west. Sun has set. Daytime heating element is going down. We now just have the overall wind energy, the warm, humid air mass in place that these storms may use as we get that front to act as a trigger mechanism to dig under that warm, humid air, force it to rise as it moves on through, and at the same time, slow down, which brings about that flooding element that Hunter has been talking about, that we could see several inches on top of what we've already seen today, leading to that street flooding. And you know areas I'm talking about, Portsmouth, Norfolk, over to Virginia Beach, the normally vulnerable areas. This is certainly enough rain and rainfall rates high enough to overwhelm some of those drainage basins. So that's what we'll be looking out for. But what you're looking at on the screen there is the mesoscale discussion. There is not currently an active watch, severe criteria watch. There is a flood watch up, but no severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch. There is a chance, according to the Storm Prediction Center, a 60% chance that we do see one added to the mix here over the short term as conditions are expected to remain conducive for some severe weather there. I want to show you the bigger picture here. Well, actually, let's recap here and show you what our weather impact alert is kind of covering here, okay? So we were talking about the strong storm threat, the nocturnal storm threat. That certainly is high on our order of things to get to here. But on top of it, too, is going to be the growing long-term threat here, I think, of the flooding potential as we go through the overnight. When that front gets here and hits the coast, it'll slow down. And what that will mean is all the storms that are to the southwest, lifting to the northeast along that boundary, are just going to move over the same area pretty much for a long duration of time. Training thunderstorms is what we call them. And that will just kind of enhance the amount of rainfall we see and increase the probability of seeing some flooding. So the time frame we're looking at here, flood watch is through tonight. But the threat of some flooding goes right through tomorrow morning's commute, okay? Right up through lunchtime, really, before we see the last of the showers and downpours push east and offshore. Strong storm still in the mix there. That severe potential is there as well. So we just want you to stay close to the forecast and have multiple ways of getting alerts, because always an overnight or nocturnal threat adds that element of surprise if you're not properly prepared. If you don't have multiple ways to get those alerts, if you're not staying on top of the forecast and knew this was a possibility, you could be caught off guard. So we're stressing the fact that you stay close to the forecast tonight. We'll be on again on our TV side of things at 11 o'clock tonight or earlier if there are any warnings that are issued. But I want you to stay on top of that and make sure your family has their plan in place in case something happens in the middle of the night. You have to go in and wake up the kids. They'll be scared. So make sure you have a plan in place here. Here's a look at radar. Again, all non-severe thunderstorms across our area right now. As I mentioned earlier, these are all low-top thunderstorms. We don't have the forcing of a cold front to dig under the warm, humid air that's been in place all day, force it to rise and tower those cumulonimbus clouds. We're just not having that out there right now. So these are low-top thunderstorms with very heavy rainfall, taking advantage of the warm air from the daytime heating. Once these lift out to the north and east, and they are doing so, they're starting to clear areas in northeastern North Carolina, we'll see a period of quieter activity. And what this will do, so what's benefiting us here in this situation is that the sun is now set. If this was, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, those showers were pushing out, we'd have the sun to come back on out and kind of recoup some of that instability. We won't have that this time, but we still do have the advection component, the transport of that energy with the strong south winds that have been out there all day today that will help to replace some of the energy that's been lost from these showers that have pushed on through. And we'll have to watch here what's going on to the south. There's a secondary severe thunderstorm warning. You see that just to the actually right over Greensboro and to the east of Charlotte. There are 2 separate severe thunderstorm warnings there. And you see that just popped up here north of Wilmington. We've got a tornado warning there. And notice the direction that all of these cells are moving in our direction to the north and east. Out ahead of them, there is not much in the way there to steal some of the energy. We have that cluster of showers and downpours moving through now, but there's a significant gap in coverage there. Will some showers fill on in? Probably. but I don't think we'll see convection to steal any of the energy from these cells that are to the south here. So that is going to be what we'll watch as we get towards, 8, 9, 10 o'clock tonight, no, probably even later than that, probably closer to midnight as these storms build in our direction. Will they be moving into an area that doesn't have the energy that it has right now? Yeah, probably a little bit less, but there's still going to be plenty of it to use to kind of acquiesce some thunderstorm warnings out here. So we'll see how that looks out. Let me get a check and see if the Weather Service has put out anything else aside from that weather discussion, that mesoscale discussion. I'm not seeing anything here. Unfortunately, when we do get those, we don't really get a time frame for when they'll be issuing it. So there's no real heads up. There's just the possibility that they're looking at it. They may put the watch out. It may happen soon. It may happen in a couple of hours. They really have to watch how things play out here upstream and see how that moves farther to the east and northeast as it lifts on through. But you can see what's going on here in central and southeastern portions of North Carolina. An active tornado warning north of Wilmington, to the east of Charlotte and Greensboro. 2 active severe thunderstorm warnings. Everything in our area at this time is non-severe. And all of this, by the way, is out ahead of the actual cold front, which on the bigger picture, you can see it's kind of hung up. There's a pretty defined squall line that's been developing along the Blue Ridge. And it's really on the state line, West Virginia and Virginia right now. So it's getting hung up there. And finally, once it pushes east, it'll slowly push towards our area. And it's just going to help kind of squeeze out the atmospheric moisture that's in place. And that's why we have that heavy rainfall threat as we go through the remainder of the overnight and into tomorrow. It's been a windy day, too, and that's been the story pretty much until our rain arrived in the last couple of hours. A 46-mile-per-hour wind gust was recorded out at Norfolk International, 40-mile-per-hour winds out at Virginia Beach. So blustery enough to blow around some deck furniture, things like that. You want to bring in the flags and everything that's outside that can become airborne, because within some of these storms that could form, the severe criteria for a severe thunderstorm warning, 55 to 60 mile-per-hour winds. So that's certainly a possibility here, because we have that wind energy aloft, okay? We've got something in place now called a low-level jet. You've heard of the jet stream, and that's basically a river of very fast-moving air 35,000 feet up, where jets fly, right? So when we have a low-level jet, it's a little bit set up closer to the ground, and when we get heavy downpours, that the rainfall tends to pull down some of the gustier winds. So we can get gusty downpours. If the rain's heavy enough and the wind speeds are high enough, it can result in a severe thunderstorm warning because the winds would exceed the criteria needed there. So that's something that's a possibility here as we go on through the rest of the night as well, when we get that enhanced amount of heavy rainfall there. But again, here's a look at radar. We're seeing the heaviest of it, or at least the most condensed heavy rain, now lifting out of Southside. I'll put it in motion here and show you. This is a 3-hour loop. We had the heavy rain in Southside, really western areas of Southside. Didn't see a whole lot out of Virginia Beach and southern portions of Chesapeake or eastern North Carolina, really. But it's now just drenching the peninsula up into Gloucester and Matthews and the eastern shore. And there's still some lagging off to the southwest here. You can see out by Ahoskie. These are a little bit more fragmented in nature, a little more isolated. But then there's going to be that gap, as we had been mentioning, that we've got these active warnings on a few cells that have flared up on the tail end of things here. And we'll have to watch how those behave and evolve over the coming hours here. And this is, again, going to be all out ahead of the actual cold front that arrives in the middle of the night tonight, Hunter.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Tim. I mean, we've been seeing, these storms just recently pop up. I mean, back in North Carolina, we were not seeing much. And then within the last, 10, 15 minutes, we just see these storms popping up. And this whole system is producing severe weather all the way down in North Carolina. You have this tornado warning here just to the north of Wilmington. Severe thunderstorm warnings. Oh, that might be a tornado possible tag that showed up on that one. So that just means that doesn't necessarily mean, say again tonight, there's a severe thunderstorm warning issued, and then there's a tornado possible tag on that. So what does that actually mean? It means that there's broad rotation, there's some rotation within the severe thunderstorm, which could produce a tornado, but just not strong enough yet for there to really be a tornado warning issued. But it's one of those warnings where you really have to treat it like a tornado warning, because it could spawn really quickly. It could turn quickly into a tornado warning. So that's kind of what that tornado possible tag does. Kind of gives you an idea that there is rotation within the thunderstorm, but just not quite there for a tornado warning to be issued. So again, some warnings down in North Carolina, tornado watch in areas in northern Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania, And even up in New York, they were seeing a ton of severe thunderstorm warnings earlier this afternoon. They have a tornado possible tag on their severe thunderstorm warning out there right now. So, I mean, just this entire system is strong. And there you go. You have another tornado possible tag in just to the south of Raleigh, heading towards Rocky Mount. And that one, you know, kind of has a good little kidney bean kind of shape to that one, at least, you know, on this satellite and radar loop, which gives you, you know, an indication that there, of course, you know, is definitely some rotation within that storm. But since it's that tornado possible tag, definitely not strong enough yet for a tornado warning to be issued. But like what Tim was saying, if you look at the direction of these polygons, they're all heading into eastern North Carolina or the Hampton Roads area. And they're popping up quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, 2 more have been added in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, they're just, the environment is still there for these severe storms, for the potential to see a tornado warning like we have just to the north of Wilmington. So it's not one of those evenings and nights where you could let your guard down. You know, the rain is slowing down. Things are looking good. Skies, you know, are looking maybe a little clearer. No, because there's some of these storms just down to the south. You'll notice we're seeing some of the rain, you know, exiting a few areas in eastern North Carolina and portions of the south side. So you could, you know, maybe just be like, oh, things are getting a little bit better. But no, again, there's all of those storms just down to our south. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of these storms are going to stay intact and head in our direction. You know, they could expire or they could continue to stay intact. But it's just something you got to watch, you know, over the next couple of hours as they continue to make their way into the area. Again, you have a flood advisory in effect for areas of Rocky Mount, Roanoke Rapids, and Wilson. I'm sure areas around here, we definitely have the chance to see flood advisories, flood warnings in effect. We have that flood watch in effect for the area until 4 o'clock in the morning, because we're going to see, you know, all of that rain heading in our direction overnight into the morning hours. So again, the environment is still pretty conducive for strong to severe storms. We're seeing it right now. You know, within the last 15 minutes, all of these just popped right on up. And even though now we're seeing, you know, rain kind of exiting the Hampton Roads area, we're going to see more heading into the area. We're just going to have, you know, just, you know, a little bit of a break, you know, over the next, you know, hour or so. In a few areas, we're still going to see some on and off downpours, but it's not going to be, you know, as consistent, especially as it was in areas around Williamsburg, you know, just in the next couple of minutes or so as that heavier batch pushes further up towards the north.
Yeah, and Hunter, the possibilities there, you're seeing kind of now discrete supercells trying to develop out there. They're a little bit more isolated in nature. They can take full advantage of the atmospheric conditions right now. And, you know, it's getting a little bit active down there near Raleigh to the east of Charlotte. There are several different types of polygons that are up on your screen right now. And I want to orient you for where we're looking at. This is well to our south and west, not currently influencing our viewing area here in southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. I'm going to start off with the least severe. That's going to be the aqua blue color. Those are flood advisories. Those are farther to the north where we had more widespread, heavier rain earlier. And you can kind of see what these mean. These are just for the possibility of some flooding going on in those areas until those are usually for a prolonged period of time as well until any floodwaters do actually recede. But then we go over to areas like just near Greensboro in North Carolina where you can see that yellow polygon. That is an active severe thunderstorm warning for observed wind gusts in excess of 58 miles per hour. So that prompted that severe thunderstorm warning there, and that's on its last couple of minutes, another 26 minutes on that warning there for that cell. Then a little bit farther to the south and east here, we have this one that developed east of Charlotte. And you can see here it's got a red shading around it. And that is for the possibility of a tornado to develop within this cell. It's already rotating. It's a supercell that's rotating a severe thunderstorm. And it is now radar indicated to have the gusty wind. So nothing observed there yet. And with the twist already present, there's the possibility that it could put down a funnel cloud or a tornado touching the ground here over the short while. And there was a secondary one issued right here south of Raleigh until 8:15, and that is also radar indicated. You see the pure red polygon here farther to the south as you get north of Wilmington, and that is an active tornado warning here south of Wallace along I-40, and that is also for a radar-indicated tornado there. There is a pinch in the overall wind speeds aloft, wind shear, winds moving in opposite directions, kind of consolidated, so that's what prompted that warning there. But again, none of this is in our area right now, but look at the trajectory it's on. Moving off to the north and east pretty quickly. Some of these cells here moving, in fact, moving at 40, 45, 50 miles per hour, these cells. So that's the other thing with the low-level jet that we talked about a couple minutes ago, is that it helps to transport storms much quicker. So I wouldn't be surprised if later on tonight, as that front builds in from the northwest and we get that low-level jet to get pinched a little bit, that we see these storms overall forward movement get picked up, and we see them moving at 50 or 60 miles per hour. So that adds the aspect of less lead time. When they're moving faster, they come up on you quicker, and you got to get out that warning and get into your safe place and your plan put in place much quicker than you normally would in, say, an environment where the storms are moving much, much slower. So at this time, guys, no severe thunderstorm warnings or watches are up in our area at this time. We have been referencing many times from the Storm Prediction Center that there is the possibility they will put a watch out for our area. There's a 60% chance of that in our western cities and counties here in what we call a mesoscale discussion, so kind of a precursor, a little bit of a lead time warning of there being a watch that gets put on out. Not exceptionally high chances of it, 60% chance. They could say, you know, conditions are a little more stable than we were thinking they'd be, so we're going to hold off on any watch. Or there's a 60% chance saying, yeah, it's definitely observed to be a little bit more unstable, and we see the need for a watch to be put on up. Not one out there yet, but there's the possibility of one here. I don't see any updates from them here coming out in the last couple of minutes. That mesoscale discussion is now over an hour old, and there has not been a watch issued there just yet. But another check on radar here is we've got rain that's exiting and pulling to the north. We're left with some kind of fragmented showers. Not much thunder, though, as you get out towards Franklin and Southside, Southampton, over into South Suffolk, southern tips of Isle of Wight, headed into Hertford, Bertie, Hoskie area. And then you go farther to the southwest, out north of Fayetteville. South of Raleigh, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning there. Near Clayton, south of Raleigh, this is the possibility of having a tornado in it as well, with that red shading around it. So we'll watch as these evolve and push into our area, but for now, it's just some stabilizing rain showers, cold stabilization out there for our downpours that came on through in the last couple of hours, and that's helping us right now. We'll see when we get that gap and things quiet down a bit if we see these storms hold together and head in our direction, Hunter.
Yeah, and I just got a, let's see here, from Wakefield.
Yeah, I've seen it too.
Watch?
Yep,
oh.
Tornado watch just been pushed up. Look at that.
Yeah.
Happened exactly right now. Here, I got the graphic up. Let's see. Yep, there's the tornado watch, folks, that has been issued. I believe it is up until, let's see what the thinking is on that. It hasn't even hit the lines yet, so it's probably through tonight. I'd imagine so. I don't see any update on the timing of that just yet, but we'll get that pretty soon. But there is now an active tornado watch, folks, for our areas. It kind of mirrored where that mesoscale discussion was highlighting the possibility of needing one. So an active tornado watch for our far western cities and counties. That does include Surrey. That does include Southampton, Northampton in North Carolina. We've got over towards areas out in Hertford County also under that tornado watch. So the majority of our area not currently under the tornado watch. Not saying that a few of these sneaky cells can't move farther east and prompt a warning there, but right now it looks like the highest potential of a tornado throughout tonight will be closer to the I-95 corridor, and that kind of falls in line with the overall thinking here. You see the Storm Prediction Center outlook. It does have our entire area under that level 2 threat, but if I pull things up here and I kind of show you, actually, Hunter, you had that up, the tornado threat. You want to pull that up quickly, and we'll go through that? Because that kind of showed areas a little bit farther to the west being more likely to experience the severe threat from a tornado.
What exactly did you want me to bring up?
The tornado outlook.
Yes. The outlook day 1. I gotcha.
Yes, yep.
There it is. Yep, so we had the those, what was it, that brown color, brownish, reddish color, that 5% chance. Yeah, like that's kind of where the tornado watch is right, here just to the east of the 95 corridor, south out towards our west. But again, that was where the higher chances is to see, possible tornado. A 5% chance doesn't seem, 5% chance doesn't seem very high. But when it comes to the chance to see tornadoes, once there's a number, there's a risk. We're already seeing, those tornado or the severe thunderstorm warnings down to our south. You see that tornado warning just to the north of Wilmington. And again, those are heading into this direction. So this environment still is favorable for the potential tornadoes, severe thunderstorm warnings. We had 2 severe thunderstorm warnings with the tornado possible tag. So rotation, again, is possible in this area. That's why they did put out that tornado watch. Not exactly sure until when, most likely.
It's until 1 a.m.
Until 1 a.m.
Yep.
Okay, so until 1 o'clock in the morning. So over the next couple of hours, we continue to have that threat. And one of the worst things about the threat is that it's an overnight threat. People are sleeping, they're going to bed. You're going to bed early because you have work in the morning, So it's just one of those nights where Tim was saying, we have been saying, all day yesterday, make sure you have ways to get alerts to your phone, whether it's a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning. You got to have a plan. And then, of course, if there is a tornado warning issued for your area, it's like, where do you even go? Most interior part of your house. Want to put as many walls between you and the outside. And if you have a basement, that's the best place to go. Basement is the best. And if you don't have a basement, of course, the most interior part of your house, whether that's a bathroom or a closet, anything. Most interior part, again, as many walls as possible, because things are flying around on the outside. And if you're, in the middle of your house, you have a little bit more protection. Tim?
Yeah, Hunter, I do want to ask Mill, our director, we'll put a pause on this. I do want to jump over to our TV side and let our viewers at home know about the tornado watch. It is scrolling on the bottom of our screen on 13 News Now. I want to jump in, though, give a quick radar update, and then we'll continue streaming on here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a second. Good Sunday evening, folks. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandajis here with you. I want to cut in and let you know that we do have now an active tornado watch that is up for our far western cities and counties. That does include Surrey, over into Southampton, Northampton, North Carolina, Hertford, and Bertie, also in North Carolina. Now, this is up through the majority of the overnight until 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, we've seen some thunderstorms, all non-severe in nature. And looking at it on the loop here over the last couple of hours, we're going to get into a period of time where we see a lull in activity, and then we're really going to be focusing on what's going on in central and eastern North Carolina that's lifting in our direction. So that will prop the possibility of seeing a few warnings as we go on through the overnight. Myself and meteorologist Hunter Forst are streaming now on 13 News Now Plus. So I urge you to join us over there if you'd like some more information. If not, if there are any warnings that pop on up here, we'll pop on TV again. We'll send you back over to programming. All right, folks, we're back. We just did a quick cut-in on our TV side to let folks know about this tornado watch that was just issued by the National Weather Service. It does include a large portion of our viewing area. The closer you are to I-95, the farther to the west, the greater chances of seeing some tornadic supercells developing as we go on through the overnight. Now, we had talked about this threat being an overnight threat. And that's looking like what's playing out here. So this is until 1 a.m. That's not saying that they cannot extend this watch farther to the east and later into the overnight, as the cold front is expected to slow down as it rolls on through. So it's not going to be a very progressive system coming on through, quick hit and gone. It's going to be with us for quite a while. And in fact, that front, if we look on satellite and radar, it is nowhere near our area yet. It's still along the I-81 corridor, pretty much, out by Roanoke, headed towards Charlottesville. Hasn't even hit Charlottesville yet. So it's got a long ways to go. Out ahead of it, we still have a modestly unstable environment. Sun has set, so we've lost the daytime heating aspect of this. But we've got the wind energy, we've got the very moist air for some showers and downpours earlier, and we've got a strong low-level jet. A lot of wind energy out there. It's been a blustery day today, so that's going to help to let these cells that do grow strong begin to spin a little bit more easily than they otherwise would be. So there's that active tornado watch box that you see there encompassing our far western cities and counties until 1 o'clock in the morning. Here's another look at that across our western areas until 1 a.m. Hunter, anything new on radar? I mean, we were tracking those cells down in North Carolina, still looking pretty unstable there.
Yeah, we're still seeing 4 of those storms that we were watching earlier. The newest thing here is that the tornado warning that was down just to the north of Wilmington has been extended as a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. So you'll notice here there was this tornado warning just to the north of Wilmington along I-40, but they extended it towards the north, but again, not as a tornado warning, but a severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag. So the rotation isn't as tight like it was earlier to prompt that tornado warning, but there still is rotation within this cell. And there's rotation with not only this cell, but this one and this one as well. All of these in southern areas of North Carolina, just to the south of Raleigh for this storm right here. And again, like we've been saying, all these storms are heading in the Hampton Roads direction. And we have that tornado watch in effect from areas in North Carolina, central, South North Carolina, into Virginia, up to Richmond. All of this purple area is that tornado watch. And could you see a tornado warning, outside of this watch? You certainly could, because look at this storm. Like, say, it kind of got its act together once again, over the next couple of hours and headed towards eastern North Carolina. They're out of the watch, but you could still see rotation in any of these areas, even though that watch isn't there. And like Tim was saying earlier, it could still be extended out towards the coast. So just because you're not in it right now doesn't mean you won't be in it later. You may not necessarily be, but again, that chance is there because, again, we've just been seeing these storms popping up again and again. So that just shows you that the environment still is ripe for these storms. And of course, the National Weather Service certainly thinks so. That's why they put out that tornado watch, that there is that chance. The ingredients are there for these tornadoes to form, for these severe thunderstorms to form. And again, there's a chance we could see more over the next, couple of hours or so, especially in this area, just to the south of Charlotte. We're seeing some more clusters of storms starting to pop up in this area. Same in areas around Wilmington. So any of these, individual cells have the chance to, grow, become strong, become severe, get rotation, become a tornado warning. So that's just something to keep in mind, that some of these cells over the next couple of hours could grow and expand. Just because you're not seeing it right now on the radar, it could, pop up quickly, just like a lot of these have over the last couple of hours. But again, this is just a big system. We're seeing tornado watches all the way up into portions of Pennsylvania. There was a tornado warning earlier in Syracuse, New York. I mean, not very often you get tornado warnings up in New York. You do. It's not, super uncommon, but just having a tornado warning in Syracuse, isn't your daily, situation. So that just shows you that this is just, a potent system all the way from New York down into the mid-Atlantic and even down into Georgia and Florida. Oh, look at that. There's even now a tornado warning in Florida right now, just to the north of Lakeland. So just a potent system from all ends of the East Coast, from Florida, mid-Atlantic, all the way up into New York. You'll notice also here in Pennsylvania and Northern Virginia, a tornado watch is in effect for that area. And again, we're just seeing these storms popping up. It's cloudy here right now. We're still seeing some heavier downpours around Williamsburg and the Eastern Shore, but we are getting a little bit of a break in eastern North Carolina, the south side. Things are looking a little bit better. But again, you have these storms that are down to the south that are likely heading in our direction.
Yeah, and Hunter, I want to talk about the tornado watch in our area because I want to read you the text from the summary from the National Weather Service when they issued this. It comes along with a graphic, as you're seeing, and some text kind of highlighting their main concerns here. So this is, again, effective until 1 o'clock in the morning for our far western cities and counties. So they're saying here, a couple tornadoes possible, scattered damaging wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour are possible, and isolated large hail events to 1.5 inches in diameter are possible. I will tell you, I'm not overly concerned with hail. I am concerned with the wind, and I am marginally concerned with a few isolated tornadoes here off to the south and west, building northeast into our area. So remember that a tornado watch is just kind of saying that the conditions are there. The ingredients are there for a tornado to form. They just haven't been mixed together and properly cooked up yet, if you will. So the recipe's there, it's all lined up, and we just haven't had the storms take proper advantage of these conditions just yet. Also here, scattered severe thunderstorms are expected to move northeast across the watch area this evening with a risk for a couple tornadoes, damaging gusts, and as I mentioned, damaging large hail. So here's a look at radar currently. We had a cluster of downpours, now looking a lot more electrified as it moves up towards the eastern shore. You can see here, in fact, if we look at some lightning tallies on this, from our radar site there, tracking 48 lightning strikes, and this is over the last, that's 60 minutes. Let's see what it looks like over 15 minutes here. And that drops to 16. So not overly impressive in terms of the amount of lightning strikes there. Again, most of this is over the Bay and over the Atlantic, a few over the eastern shore in places like Northampton County and southern portions of Accomack. But a lot of these are low-top thunderstorms that are driving off to the north and east pretty quickly. As we're seeing them lift out of south side, we'll begin to go into a period of quieter weather, probably for a couple hours. And then we'll have to focus on all of this action that's flaring on up. Every time we visit this, Hunter, I feel like there's more warnings that get prompted. Farther to the north and west, they're just plain old severe thunderstorm warnings. But you look central North Carolina, southern North Carolina, southeastern North Carolina, those yellow polygons acquire a red outline. And what that is these are different tags that the Weather Service puts out to kind of help us tell the story as broadcasters, as meteorologists, that what is expected of each cell. And the ones that have the red outline around it are ones that, they're watching some spin. It's kind of, spread out. It's a little broad. But if it tightens up, there could possibly be a tornado that gets formed out of these cells that have the red hue around the yellow polygon. When you see the plain old red polygons, that we do have one on screen still. This is the lingering one from the cell that lifted out of Rocky Point north of Wilmington. But notice north of that, they replaced the tornado warning with a tag for a tornado possible and a severe thunderstorm warning. That's a difference because the tornado warning, usually we already have the consolidation of the spin, and it's a radar indicated tornado that could possibly be touching down at any time. When you move into the polygon that has the red outline, it's we don't see anything yet that's suspicious, but it's had a history of being a possibility. So we're going to keep that going as it moves farther to the north and east. So that's what's going on with that cell. Again, all of this is outside of our area. We're dealing with some lingering showers moving through our parts of Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. Right now, hardly any rain falling at all in our northeastern North Carolina cities and counties. See that radar kind of quiet. It is, however, very windy. Here's a look at some recent wind gusts. Again, these are outside of any storms. Recent gusts of 35 at Norfolk, 33 out of Elizabeth City. These are lower than our peak wind gusts that were achieved earlier, likely around midday. 46 miles per hour was the peak gust out at Norfolk, 40 out at Virginia Beach, and you see nearly at 40 miles per hour out at Elizabeth City. Expect the winds to stay up because the front that's going to be impacting us, the actual cold front that once it moves through, will finally quiet things down, is still well to the west. In fact, let me highlight it here exactly where it is. It's pretty much right along here, stretching down to the south. So still well to our west. And out ahead of that front, we've got the very strong southerly winds. We're getting squeezed, and there's high pressure parked well offshore. So we're getting squeezed in between that. We have the wind energy there. What's working in our favor here that could possibly limit our severe threat going through tonight is it's nighttime. Okay, nocturnal events, unless there are ideal atmospheric conditions in place, we lose the daytime heating, right? So that is usually our main lifting element aside from the front itself. We have the heating of the ground that heats the air, and the air rises and forms into convection. We lose that when the sun goes down. So that limiting factor is there. Will it be enough to overwhelm all the other variables that are in place that are potentially going to help produce some severe thunderstorms? Maybe. We'll see. That's why something we're going to have to really watch here, and which is the reason why the watch is out, right? Because the ingredients are there, most of which for a couple severe thunderstorms that could produce a tornado. So again, that's in our far western cities and counties. A close-up look of our radar here. Again, we've been on since 7 o'clock. We'll stay on for a little while longer and take a little bit of a break and then come back here as the second round of storms works to come on through here later this evening. But we're looking at some gusty downpours moving through our area at this time. Hunter, what do you think?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Tim, like we were saying, the atmosphere still is ripe, and another severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag has popped up. Another one. They're just coming like this, like this, like this. That's why we have that tornado watch out. The environment is still favorable. It's just to the south of the one we were talking about earlier before. This one's for Wadesboro in just southern areas of North Carolina. But again, it's still all of these storms that are coming in this direction. Just the one just to the south of Raleigh, heading towards the north and the east. The ones near, that was near Wilmington, heading towards the north and the east. And the new one here that just popped up, heading towards the north and the east. And this severe thunderstorm warning has that tornado possible tag as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4 severe thunderstorm warnings with that tornado possible tag. And then we have this storm here where they just extended that severe thunderstorm warning a couple minutes ago. Is just, one of those, not just one of those regular, but it doesn't have that tornado possible tag on it, but still gusty winds, like they were saying, could see 60, 70 mile per hour gusts within these storms. So even if you don't see a tornado warning, you could have winds that are devastating or dangerous or destructive within these severe thunderstorms. So even if you get one of those warnings and it's just you're waking up and you're like, oh, it's just a severe thunderstorm warning, that's all right. I'll stay in bed. If you have a tree next to your house, where you're sleeping, a severe thunderstorm warning can knock that down. It can knock down the limbs, anything. I mean, there's going to be gusty winds within these storms. So that's something to keep in mind, that even, if there's a severe thunderstorm warning issued, you still want to get into your safe place if that's what you think, is best. We also, there we go. I think, are they reissuing the same one?
Yeah, they're carrying it on.
Carrying it further up the stream there. So again, they're continuing on. It's not like they're, kind of short-lived storms that are, only a couple of minutes. They're just kind of carrying on over the last, 20, 30 minutes or so. Same with this system here that's going to head just to the west of South Boston in Virginia. Not seeing any severe storms again here in the Hampton Roads area right now, but part of the area is still under that tornado watch. From Richmond down just to the west of Williamsburg into Franklin to Emporia along the 95 corridor, Roanoke Rapids, Ahoskie, you guys are in the tornado watch as well. But like I was saying earlier, just because you're not in the watch doesn't mean you won't see a warning or a tornado warning or anything. We could also extend this. They could extend this further off towards the east, so that's something to keep in mind. Just because you're not in it right now doesn't mean you won't be in it, in an hour or in 2 hours or so. So don't be caught off guard, if you see some of these warnings heading into your area. And just because you're in a tornado watch, that doesn't necessarily mean you will see a warning. That's also something to keep in mind. But again, we are seeing a lot starting to pop up within the last 20, 30 minutes or so. So and as we get later into the night, it's 8 o'clock right now, people are getting ready for bed. You have work in the morning, so you're going to bed earlier than usual, most likely. So, maybe if you lose power, make sure you have some water bottles in the fridge, things like that, just in case some areas do lose power. Got to make sure you have water getting up in the morning so you're not parched. Again, we still have some of these storms in North Carolina. Things are really heating up tonight. Over the last couple of hours, it was kind of like iffy if we were really going to see, some of this severe threat. It was kind of diminishing, but now it's kind of picking back up. We knew that there was going to be a nocturnal severe threat. That main threat, as we got later into the day today, was kind of turning into a flood threat, which there still is that threat. But now that severe threat is kind of upticking, just a little bit as we continue to see these storms starting to pop up. So not only now do we have the tornado watch in effect for portions of the area, but we now have a flood watch in effect for areas of the south side and the peninsula as well, even though most of the rain is pushing out of the area until we see more later on this evening. But again, we have that flood watch in effect until 4 o'clock in the morning, because once we get into our morning commute tomorrow, especially if you have an early morning commute, definitely have the chance to see some heavier downpours, 4, 5, 6 o'clock before it really starts to push out mid to late morning. That's when things start to get a bit better. And then even better, if you have any plans for the afternoon, will just be mostly cloudy, chance to see, a few isolated showers. But, overall, the environment still looking pretty good to produce these severe thunderstorms with the tornado possible tag. And again, all moving towards the north and the east. And where are we? Off towards the north and east from all of these storms. So again, they're heading into our direction. Does that mean they're all going to stay intact over the next hour, over the next 2-3 hours? Not necessarily, but they could, kind of go through cycles where they, get rid of the watch because it's not as strong, but then they get back into an environment where they could re-strengthen, and that's where we are. That's definitely a case. But again, it's just something to keep an eye on for the next couple of hours, especially as you're heading off to bed. One thing you may want to do, say it's 8 o'clock now, say you go to bed at 10, just check back in on the radar at 10 o'clock before you go, before you head to bed. Be like, maybe I'll check to see if there's a tornado or warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, just to the south of us. And if it is, maybe stay up a little bit later to see if it's extended into your area. That's something always that you could do. But again, just before you head off to bed tonight, you got to make sure you're aware of your surroundings and make sure you know where to go, because overnight you wake up, there's a warning. You're kind of like all over the place wondering what to do. So it's important to always have a plan before you head to bed, just in case, something, there's a warning issued for your area. Tim?
Yeah, Hunter, you brought up a great point about storms and how they cycle, right? And that you had said that, just because they are warned right now doesn't mean they'll maintain that warning status for the entire duration of their life cycle. Let's go to radar here, and I want to show you exactly what he's talking about. Now, down to the south, we've got multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, actually a few less than just a couple minutes ago, so they are expiring, a few of them, but 3 active that have a tornado warning tag possible on them. And as these storms develop and they hit varying environments that are more conducive or less conducive, they ebb and flow. Okay, they cycle, they get strong, they peter on out, and then they contain enough of their original structure that once they hit another area that's favorable for development, they are at a better advantage to use that energy, okay? So those are storms when we talk about them cycling. Even though right now they're flaring warnings, we could go over the next hour that all of these same cells weaken below severe criteria, but then hit another patch of a favorable environment, and we see them flare back up again. So we have the residual energy from the original storms hitting favorable environments and reflaring back up. So that's what we're going to have to watch for here over the coming hours. I have been paying attention to power outages because it's been a windy day today, and current active outages in Virginia is just under 12,000, and in northeastern North Carolina, we're just under 15,000 here. Let's see, special marine warnings just issued. So power outages are not exceptionally high, but there certainly are some. If we see more severe thunderstorm warnings come on through in the next few hours, obviously we'll see those jump. But for now, in our immediate area, we're looking at the exit of some heavy thunderstorms, heavy downpours, gusty downpours pushing off to the northeast pretty quickly. We'll go into a period of quieter weather for the first part of the overnight. And this watch, this tornado watch, is up until 1 o'clock in the morning. and it could possibly be even extended farther to the east and for a later time frame as well. So it's something we're going to watch here over the coming hours. We're going to wrap up this stream, kind of recoup everything, and then jump back on here if the watch is extended or we see warnings getting a little bit closer to our viewing area. On behalf of myself and meteorologist Hunter Forst, thanks for joining us. I hope you stay up to date and close to the forecast for the rest of the night. Him and I will be here on the 13 News Now Plus streaming app and on the TV side if it's warranted over the coming hours.